Everybody, welcome into the Shelby County High School Football Show, our final show of the 2018 season, and what a special final week we have to prepare you for as the Thompson Warriors will be competing in their first state championship in 36 years. Last time they were in this situation was 1982, and the team brought home the title. That was their only other state championship appearance in school history, so obviously something new for this program, this team who's really just completely turned things around in a short period of time. 0-10 in the year 2014. Head coach Mark Freeman's come in and turned this program into a state championship contending team, and now they get a chance to bring home that first title in 36 years. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, December 5th, they'll be down in Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama, competing against the Central Phoenix City Red Devils, who also go into the game with just one previous state championship appearance, one they won as well. Both are coming off long gaps, so it's been 20-plus years for each team since their last state championship appearance. Central Phoenix City's came in 1993, Thompson's obviously in 1982, so something new for both of these teams. The nerves, the jitters, they're going to be there, but it's going to be a lot of fun for each team as well. Obviously, setting the standard, making a historic run to a state championship game. You can't ask for much more. Both teams have a chance to win a state championship. I was talking with Larry Simmons last week, the head coach of the 1982 team, and that's what he said. As a head coach, all you want is your team to give you a chance at a championship, and that's what both of these teams have done to this point in the season. So we'll see how everything unfolds on the field tomorrow night, but it's going to be a special time, a special opportunity for both of these teams as they do play in the state championship for just the second time in their school's history. So on this week's show, we're going to break down everything to do with that state championship matchup, give you all the keys to the game, break down what you need to know if you're heading down to Auburn or if you're watching on TV at home. It's going to be a lot of fun. I expect this to be a really close and entertaining football game. If you watched the SEC championship game this past weekend, I do expect something similar, to be honest with you. I really do think this is going to be a thrilling game for the 7A title, the highest classification in the state of Alabama. So if you are able to make the trip, I think it will be well worth it. Thompson fans, obviously, you haven't experienced this kind of success in a long time, and I know that the players and coaches are looking forward to your support. And here in just about 2 hours, they will be sending the team off 9:30 a.m. this morning. When I am recording this video, it's actually 7 o'clock right now, but they will be sending the team off at 9:30 this morning, and it's going to be a special send-off for that group, and just really to culminate a very incredible season that Thompson has put together to get back into this situation, a state championship, for the first time in 36 years. So we're going to talk about the game, break everything down that you need to know ahead of the big Class 7A state championship tomorrow night. So if you read my prediction on this game Sunday night or over the past couple of days, obviously you've seen that I picked Thompson to win this game in really a close contest going down to the wire. And while I say that, this is going to be an incredible game. These two teams are very capable of winning a state championship, so I'm not going to be surprised by the outcome if either team comes out on top and picks up the blue map at the end of the night. So it's not one of those games where I expect one team to really just have a huge upper hand. I really do expect this game to be a closely contested one, and that doesn't mean that one team can't come out. It is a state championship game. There are going to be some nerves, some jitters there for each team, so one team could handle that a little bit better and get off to a better start and run away with it. You never know, but I expect this to be a closely contested game. I do expect Thompson, however, to come out on top, and I'll tell you why throughout this show today, but it is going to be an incredible football game in my opinion. And like I said, both these teams, it's been a while since they've been in this situation. The nerves are going to be there. It's been since 1993 for Central Phoenix City. They went on to win that state championship, beating West End by a final score of 12-7. And to show you how much football's really changed, both of these two teams' state championship games were low-scoring, hard-fought defensive battles with a lot of running on the ground, and now we've kind of gone into that spread style of offense. You're having to guard against several different things defensively. The game of football has really changed in the time span since these two teams have last played in a state championship. The last time Thompson was there was the year 1982, and they were able to pick up a 14-11 victory against Oxford. So both teams 1-0 in state championship appearances. One of them will fall to 1-1 in state championship appearances, while the other will move and improve to 2-0. So Obviously something new for these teams. They've never experienced something like this before. They're both coming off seasons last year when they made it to the semifinals and lost heartbreaking games just to come back this year and redeem those heartbreaking losses. So they're both sitting in similar situations, also coming off semifinal wins this year that were incredible with Central Phoenix beating Lee Montgomery last week with a big pass with 8 seconds left. They come back to win that game after trailing by 2 scores in the fourth quarter. Thompson also against Hoover trailed by 2 scores with about 6 minutes left in that game, came back to win that contest in the final 21 seconds on a touchdown run from Shadrick Bird. So both of these teams coming off thrilling wins are riding that high of getting to the state championship off of those thrilling wins. But one thing that I think is key, and that's what Thompson was able to do last week, was beat the Hoover Buccaneers. Central Phoenix City, they beat a Lee Montgomery team by 1 score that they really handled easily earlier in the season, which tells me they've declined just a little bit. It's a team that, they've still been dominating opponents heading into that game last week, but at the same time, that was a game they should have won a little bit more handily, while Thompson was able to take down a team in Hoover that has been to the state championship game in 16 of the last 18 years. And it's just unbelievable to see that kind of performance against a dynasty like that. So Thompson able to take down the top dog there in Hoover last week, who dominated in the state championship game last year. And I think that's going to be a key. I do think Thompson's tests to this point, their strength of schedule, is going to play a key role in helping them to the win. And I'll expand on that a little bit more as this show goes along. But both of these teams, very talented, obviously. And if you just look at the stats, the points per game scored by the offense and given up by the defense, you're going to lean towards Central Phoenix City in this game. Central Phoenix City is scoring 40.5 points per game and only giving up 7.8, and that's the key. Their defense has just been unreal the entire season. It's a defense that's given up more than 10 points in just 4 games. Also, more than 18 just one time throughout the season, and that was last week to Lee Montgomery in that semifinal game, the only time this year that they've given up more than 18 points in a game. And they've also posted 6 shutouts on the season as well. So basically sitting at 13-0 right now, basically half of their games have been defensive shutouts. So it's a team that's scoring a lot of points on the offensive end and is playing playing some of the best defense among anybody in the state, and specifically anybody that Thompson has seen so far this season. So that's going to be one of the biggest tests for the Warriors going into this contest. If you look at Thompson, they're playing very similar on both sides of the ball. Their defense has not been as good as Central Phoenix City and not as good as last year's defense, but it's a defense that's grown throughout the season, and I think that's really the key going into this matchup, is how much this team's grown throughout the year. Right now, the defense sitting there, they're giving up 17.6 points per game, while averaging on the offensive side of the ball 37 points per game. So scoring around the same amount of points each game as Central Phoenix City, giving up close to 10 points more per game on the defensive side of the ball. That being said, this is a defense that's gone up against Hewitt-Trussville, a defense that's gone up against the Hoover Buccaneers, both of those teams twice, 2 of the most dynamic offenses, not just in the state of Alabama, across the entire country. You've got 2 Division I quarterbacks leading those teams, Division I running backs, Division I receivers, and Division I offensive linemen on both of those teams. So this isn't going to be anything new for Thompson. Obviously going in to take on a very talented Central Phoenix City team that has Division I recruits. They have a Division I quarterback committed to LSU. But it's nothing new. They've been there. They've experienced that. And Central Phoenix City, they've had difficult tests along the way this season. They've played some talented teams, maybe not to the caliber of Thompson, and that's the key, though. When you break things down, their opponent's record throughout the season, they're very similar, but Thompson's tests have been a little bit more difficult. If you look at teams like Thompson or Hoover and Hewitt-Trussville on paper and just see them in person, those teams are state championship level teams, and Thompson's got a 3-1 record against those 2 teams alone this season. So that's what gave me the edge when I was deciding to pick the Warriors to win the state championship game, was that they really, in my opinion, handled 2 of the top 4 teams in the state already just to get to this point. They've played those 2 teams twice. They've been battle tested. And it really started in that first game against Hoover earlier this season. It was a game that, they fell behind in the first quarter 21-0, but they didn't give up. And I talked about this after that game. I saw the team change right then. Coming into the season, the concern for Thompson was on the defensive side of the ball and at receiver. We've talked about this a lot throughout the season about the Warriors, but the receivers, they lose two of the best receivers in the state from last year's team, and on defense, they lose 90% of their production when it came to the secondary as well as to their tackling on defense. So they just lost so much talent and so much production on both sides of the ball at those two key situations, receiver and the entire defense. So coming into the season, we needed to see what the defense was going to do, and we needed to see some receivers step up. And early in the season, that was a struggle. The defense played good at times, but they were exposed against Hoover. Hoover was able to do anything it wanted to with Larry McCammon and Robbie Ashford running the football. And Thompson's defense just really didn't have an answer at that point in the season, and the receivers were dropping balls. And that takes me back to what I was saying earlier, that Thompson has grown so much throughout this football season to this point. That second half against Hoover, they fell behind 21-0. They came back and they fought, and they had that down to a one-possession game in the fourth quarter, and they had a chance really that they were going to go down and make that game even closer. But Hoover made some plays, ends up making it look like a blowout, which it was not. It was a game Thompson fought hard in, and that was a game they learned from. They watched film on that one. They were able to rebound, and they turned into a new team, and that kind of continued over the next several weeks. They faced a tough test against the Vestavia Hills Rebels, end up coming back in the fourth quarter to win a 21-20 game, and that's one of those tests this team needed. It kind of woke them up and made them realize that they've got to have their A game each and every week, that they've got to prepare. It's like the SEC West of high school football. And, they started to play a little bit better again against Mountain Brook the following week, and then they went into that matchup with Hewitt-Trussville. And that takes you back all the way to the Hoover game in the exact same situation pretty much, but this time they were able to overcome it. They fall behind 21-0 again in the first quarter to the Huskies, but then they bounce back. They obviously fall behind 28-0 early in the second quarter, but then bounce back, and they come back and win that game 63-49. And I can't tell you what it was that helped them win that game, but they just flipped a switch completely, and since then have looked like a state championship team, a dominant team, and a completely different team than what started the season this year. And that's what really gives them an edge, in my opinion. The defense has started playing lights out. They're getting after the quarterback. They're able to handle double teams on the defensive line. And the linebackers, who are a young crew, and that's part of it, they've grown up tremendously throughout this season. And their defense has just been so stout the last few weeks. Obviously holding that Hewitt-Trussville team to 21 points the rest of the game after falling behind 28-0, and then in the the quarterfinals of the playoffs holding them to just 13 points with Division I recruits all over the Huskies' offense this season. So the defense has shown its improvement. The offense has shown that it can run the football. And if Talia Tungavaloa is healthy going into this game, they also add that dimension of throwing the football, because he can throw it all over the field on pretty much any given defense that he's going to face, including Central Phoenix City, despite theirs being as good as it is. So it just really, that improvement throughout the season is what tends to lead me to think Thompson's going to be able to pull off the win in this game. And it really does start with the defensive side of the ball. The way they've improved this season has just blown me away from the start of the season. That's what I needed to see. If they were going to win a state championship this year, it was going to be because of that improvement on the defensive side of the ball. And they've been led by guys like Jalen Bustamante, DJ Douglas, Will Connor, Eric Mizell on the defensive line, who's one of those guys that was facing double team after double team early in the season, and now he's gotten used to handling that and has really turned a page and helped this defense take that next step. So if you combine that defensive side of the football for Thompson with the lethal weapons they have on the offensive side of the ball, Michael Petway starting to step up and catch some big bombs down the field, and some other guys. You got guys like A.J. Bonham and a few others that are really stepping up and catching footballs. If they're able to do that, if they're able to secure the ball and keep getting chunk yardage each play with the added threat of, Talia taking off with his legs or Shadrick pulling off a big run any given play as well, then this is going to be a dangerous Thompson team. tomorrow night when they take the field in that state championship game. It is going to be a tough test. Central Phoenix City has a lot of talent on both sides of the football. And Thompson, the key for them, as it has been the last several weeks, is going to be to come out. They're going to have to start fast. If you can start with a 7-0 lead and then get a stop and go up 14-0 early in this game, I'm not saying it's over. Central Phoenix City's not going to give up. Neither will Thompson if they fall behind. But that will be so key in winning this game to get that early advantage and play with the lead, because Thompson's been known as a second-half team for the last 2 years. So if they can jump up and get that lead and have it a tie or a lead going into halftime, you have to feel good about their chances coming out in the second half. So as far as the nerves go, you'll eventually settle in. You'll play football. That's not something I really look too much into. It might affect the game early on, but teams are going to bounce back eventually. Whether you have a lead, whether you have a deficit, you're just playing football, and it's as simple as that. So not too concerned about the nerves or how each team's going to handle this. I do think they'll be just fine when it comes to that. As far as talent and just who lines up better, I really do think Thompson has the better talent. I think they have an offensive line that's one of the best in the state, if not the best in the state, to block for one of the most talented offenses really in the country. So that just you just have a lot of things that tend to add up to Thompson winning this football game. And in my opinion, it really has to do with the schedule. When you play two of the top 4 teams 4 times this season, you're battle-tested, and you've had to come back and win a couple of those games. You know how to handle this kind of situation against a tough Central Phoenix City team. So Central Phoenix City may be in for something that they haven't experienced yet. It's a Lee Montgomery team last week in the semifinals that really was an average football team that somehow made a deep postseason run, and they tested Central Phoenix City big time. Probably Lee should have won that football game. But that being said, Central Phoenix City made it to this point, and they have their chance just like Thompson does. So both of these teams going to be looking to pull off that second state championship in their school's history, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see which one comes out on top. Like I said, I do expect this one to go down to the wire. It's going to go one way or another, but either team can pull this one off. I do lean in the favor of the Warriors, but I'm not going to be surprised by anything. So if you can, make sure you get down there to Auburn tomorrow night. It will be a little bit chilly, but you'll be inside a big stadium. It should be a little bit warmer in there. Make sure that you So my video decided to cut out on me right as I was about to end the show. But as I was saying, make sure you bring some more warm clothes, get down there, support this Thompson team. Here shortly they're going to be sending them off from Thompson High School. They've all just gathered up here at the rotunda to the field house, and you can hear the excitement. They're up there having a good time and ready for this, and they deserve the support. Thompson's known as one of those teams that travels better than most across the state. The city of Alabaster tends to travel all over the place to watch this team play. So I'm expecting to see one of the largest state championship crowds that we've ever had. So make sure you live up to that hype. I know it's going to be a little bit cold, and there's going to be a lot going on for it being a Wednesday night. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you're a Alabaster resident, if you're a fan of the Thompson Warriors, you just never know when your team's going to make it back to the state championship. And it really, these kids, these players, and the coaching staff deserve that after such an incredible season. This team 0-10 just a few years ago, and now they're going to a state championship to play in Jordan-Hare Stadium, an SEC college football stadium. It's just remarkable what this team has done. So make sure you get down there, support this team, and I'll see you there tomorrow night in Auburn, Alabama.